The Dallas Cowboys have made multiple moves under new head coach Brian Schottenheimer as he begins to fill out this roster. And there are many mixed opinions on what these moves entail. Some very positive, some very negative. We're going to be talking about all of them here in this video. Now, before we get into it, though, we notice that just over 90% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Dallas Cowboys news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button, join me here on the channel. We are covering everything Dallas Cowboys. Without any further ado, though, let's get into our first topic here, which is a very exciting one, actually, for once, for the Dallas Cowboys offseason news. But as we head into it here, from Ian Rappaport, the Cowboys are closing in on a deal with former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus to be their new defensive coordinator. Sources say, my favorite all along, Eberflus joins Brian Schottenheimer's staff and the return to Dallas where he was a linebackers coach from 2011 to 2017. Now, this is an absolute perfect signing for where the Cowboys stand right now in the offseason. Now, not just in the offseason either, but as we progress into next season, and especially over the next few years as well, this signing is exactly what the Cowboys have been waiting for. We need something like this to be able to increase this offense from where we kind of were last season. You know, of course, there were injuries that we had to deal with that certainly kind of strayed away from this. Mike Zimmer's coaching did the best he could for the most part with all the injuries and everything, but as it comes now into a younger lineup for the future, staying healthy, the plan going forward, and really what Brian Schottenheimer is thinking, this defense has needed an overhaul, and Matt Eberflus completes what they need to do here. And going on as well, I want to pull up the defensive depth chart right now. And of course, this is subject to change. Still very on in the early on in these offseason. Not even done the Super Bowl yet, but as we kind of look, there's a very good mix of young talent, some veteranship that's coming in here to help these guys along the way, and quite a few IR spots. And I think that's something that a lot of us have been really aware of for quite some time, that we're not yet going to see the most available off defense, the peak defense from this team for this season. Of course, Armani Oruwariye, Trevon Diggs, Demarion Overshown, DeMarcus Lawrence, all of those guys right now on IR, all starting candidates here on this team. And, that's not just from the beginning of the season, just mid-season until this point, and really had no health at all in this offseason. And, of course, Deron Bland not starting the season as well. It was another way that we saw this defense not really be able to adapt to anything and stay consistent. But now in the offseason, when we start to see people get healthy, when we go to the draft, when we get some more, pieces here and there, we're going to see some very, very, more developed linebackers as we head into next season, even with Micah Parsons, even with, I'll even throw in Eric Hendricks, a very experienced player. Still, we saw him be very good with the Vikings. Still, okay with the Chargers. Now, here with the Cowboys, he's getting an older player, but still has a lot of potential and a lot to teach a lot of these younger players. And Deron Bland, just to name a few. But as we kind of progress into where we're looking for, we've seen Brian Schottenheimer kind of be vocal about what the plan is. We saw Jerry Jones, before hiring Brian Schottenheimer, that they were looking to already develop this defense, around Brian Schottenheimer even before he got hired. So they had this plan in mind for quite some time, and of course, going through many other ones means Mike Zimmer is now going to be out of this team. That we see Matt Eberflus become available. That's a perfect spot for him on this team. And I think a lot of Cowboys fans should be very excited about this. And I don't want to say a sneaky signing, because we've seen him, be not a great head coach, but a lot of people may be underestimating his talents for this Cowboys defense. But in 7 years as defensive play caller, Matt Eberflus' defense ranked in the top half of the league 5 times and were top 10 in takeaways 6 of those 7 seasons. And with the weight of the head coaching duties off his shoulders, focusing on the defense in a place he's familiar with gives Eberflus a chance to prove himself as a defensive mind again. And those stats do come from his previous tenure with the Cowboys, but that's a very important second half of that quote there, is that with the head coaching duties off his shoulders, he now has a chance to focus on where his talents really shine. And especially with this Cowboys defense, one that was, I don't think I'm scared to say disappointing this season. It's going to be very good to see him be able to fully focus on this now, lock it in, get back to a place he's comfortable with, and be able to really, once again, show off what his talents are and really where they become a peak talent. So very excited to see this as we do progress into the upcoming season, as we do progress into some pretty big moves that are going to be made by this Cowboys team. Yet we still really don't know what free agency, what the draft entails, but we can certainly assume that we're going to have a healthy defense next year. We're going to have some better pieces, and we're going to have a bit more than what we had this season. But apart from that, we have another move from the Dallas Cowboys. Another move that a lot of people may not like as much as this Matt Eberflus one's. This one is a pretty interesting one here coming from Tom Pelissero. The Cowboys are expected to hire Nick Sorenson as their special teams coordinator per source. Sorenson spent the last season with the 49ers defensive coordinator, but he has a special teams experience most recently with the Jaguars in 2021. Now, we've been able to see this season, and it was pretty evident that the 49ers defense was not what they wanted to, and Nick Sorensen was not great for them at all this season. And a lot of reactions to this coming from the special teams, coming from, the transition out of the most recent staff for the Cowboys into kind of this new era. A lot of people are questioning, well, obviously Brian Schottenheimer's move, but we have to trust him. The deal is done now. We can't really change anything, so all we have to do is hop on his boat and believe in him. But this is another one where I really don't know about it. Nick Sorensen, defensive coordinator for the 49ers story this season, really did not hold that defense to what they could have been. Of course, a few injuries on that team as well, a few injuries everywhere else, and a very injury-heavy season across the NFL, so I shouldn't really mention too much of that. But as we kind of change over from 49ers to a Cowboys scheme, we know the Cowboys special teams is absolutely incredible. And this is a pretty important prompt here, so bear with me for a moment. But the Cowboys reportedly tried to retain John Fassel, who among the premier special teams coordinators in the NFL, but they didn't have a head coach at the time, so Fassel took the same position with the Titans, unfortunately. And John Fassel was the reason the Dallas Cowboys even had Brandon Aubrey, Cavante Turpin, both of whom were recruited from the USFL, who and have developed into two of the best players in their respective positions. Simply put, Sorensen is taking over one of the most talented special teams units in football. So what I'm really hoping here from Nick Sorensen, although we saw him with the DC last year not be great, my hope is that he's kind of going to follow this Matt Eberflus scheme. Not too much focus on defense now, but special teams. Get back to what you're used to. Get back to where you're comfortable with, and taking over one of the best units in the NFL. Hopefully, we'll be able to give him that kind of advantage, that boost into comparing to every other one. And obviously, we've seen John Fassel have a very, very good recruiting sense for this team. And now that he's gone, we're going to have to see the same from Nick Sorensen. We hope to have Brandon Aubrey, a bit older there for quite a bit longer. Cavante Turpin, I believe, has so much potential. And we saw a little shine of that this year. And I'm so excited to see more. I shouldn't say I don't want to see more, because I'm expecting to see more, and I cannot wait to see it. But this is a very good unit, and, kind of looking at how we're going to progress into this, it does seem like this is going to be a major change to the special teams, but something that I hope should be pretty familiar with what this team has. And as I mentioned, hopefully that we see Nick Sorensen kind of fall back into this familiarity territory in special teams. So let me know what you think about these Cowboys moves. And obviously, some pretty big ones. Matt Eberflus coming off a head coaching job, fired by the Chicago Bears, now coming back into his I guess we can say his home. Nick Sorensen coming from the 49ers, now back also to a special teams coordinator. Hopefully this works out in both of their favors, and I think that both should work out. I'm going to take a gamble, say that Matt Eberflus should obviously work out, back to his familiar territory on the defense. Nick Sorensen heading off of that DC, getting back to his familiar position with special teams as he was in 2021 with the Jaguars, but now it's time. A lot of people doubting these Cowboys teams. I'm definitely one of them. I'm not going to say I'm not, because as you've seen in previous videos, I was not liking the idea, but the way that things are playing out, the way that we kind of are lining up the stars, we got to believe in Brian Schottenheimer. We got to believe in this team. So let me know what you think about these moves here in the comments below. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.